Oh, but the away. Now, hey guys, welcome to episode 7 of Phil's Corner. This is Phil's Corner without the corner. Trying a different format. We're trying something a little bit different for Euro 2020 kits, and at the time of recording, the Euros would have been kicking off in about a week's time, were it not for the world falling apart. But nonetheless, I thought it would be good to go through all the kits for Euro 2020. Some of them we know, some of them have been released, others are not released yet. We've got a lot of leaks here which I'm going to be referring to, and a couple of teams that we've not seen even any leaks for. So we're going to go through all the kits we know so far, ranking them in this tier list. You've probably seen a lot of these videos, and I wanted to give that a go and see what we think. Before I get to that though, I want to say a massive thank you as ever to Kit and Bone. Kit and Bone, one of the sponsors of this video, have been a great supporter from day one, and if you don't know them already, go and check them out. They do great shirts, they do great artwork. I believe they've got some new products coming up soon as well, so that's really exciting. But alongside Kit and Bone, I'm really excited to say that Mystery Football Jerseys are sponsoring this video, so thank you to them. And they're a great mystery box service for kits. Just the quality and the standard of the kits that they have in their boxes is really good. I myself got the 1874 Northwich shirt recently, which is one of the better lower league shirts of recent years, and that came from Mystery Football Jerseys. So go and check them out. I'll leave a link to them and to Kit and Bone in the description as usual. Thank you to them for sponsoring this video. It's great to have their support, but we'll get straight to the video now. We're not going to do the usual comments section just because of the sheer volume of kits. There's a lot to go through. I want to go straight into this, and I'm going to be pretty rapid, I think. Hopefully, I say that it's going to be quite long to go through all these kits, but I don't want to spend too much time given how many we've got. Hopefully though, we can get through them. And what I will say before I get into these kits is I think it's actually quite a good year for international kits. I think, you know, broadly speaking, if we compare this set of kits to what we saw at the last Euros, this compares really favourably. It might even be as good as the 2018 World Cup, although I'm not sure if it's quite that good, because that was a really good year for kits. But I think in terms of European kits, we've rarely had it better, certainly in the modern era. We'll start with Austria. Austria and Puma, a lot of people commented about this home shirt, saying that it looked a bit like an Arsenal shirt. And you can see the similarities. You've got the white sleeves there. Of course, Puma were with Arsenal as well before Adidas came along for their reunion. But I really like this Austria kit. I think the rebranding crest is quite nice, which we're seeing on the home and away kits. There's a really nice kind of polka dot style pattern on the home throughout the body. Having said that, I don't think this is in the upper tiers. I don't think this is an S or A tier shirt, simply because I don't think there's enough of a kind of wow factor about the design, but it's solid. I think this is definitely a B tier shirt. It's a good shirt, which does a lot of things well, and actually when you compare it to a lot of the other kits, I think it does compare quite favourably. Things are even better though on the away shirt, and I really like this design. I'm going to stick it in A tier. I think from a colour perspective, this is really fresh. It's really interesting. It's got a similar colour scheme to the Liverpool third shirt, but it's a much nicer shirt than that. The pattern is much nicer. It's this kind of Art Deco style design, which I really like. I think it looks really good on the kits. And I think certainly the combination with the home is a good complement. You know, it's not obviously an Austria kit, and that's probably one thing going against it. I'd say if you looked at this, I couldn't tell you without that crest there that it was going to be an Austria kit. But you know what? As something different, something fresh, I think Puma are bringing a lot to the table there. Let's go to Belgium, and this home shirt has been out for a little while now. A lot of people joke that it looks a bit like someone's run it over, which I quite like. It reminds me a bit of, I think it was Sporting Kansas City had a similar kind of design. Really contrasting black and red pattern. I think that's quite notable, and I like it when Belgium have had black shirts or rather black secondary details in the past. I don't think it's one of my favourite patterns though. I think, you know, just from an aesthetic point of view, it's not nearly as good as this Austria kit here. But it's not a bad kit. I think it's probably close to a kind of D or C tier. You know what? I think I'm going to stick in. I'll stick in D. It's close to C. I think certainly the design is one that could grow on me a lot, and especially when we see it at the tournament, it might look a lot better. But yeah, it's probably a D tier. And then when I look at the away, it's not quite as good though. I think, you know, if that's a D, this is probably in the E tier. You know what? I'm going to stick that in C, because I think actually when I compare it to a lot of shirts, it's probably in the middle. It's in the middle of the pack. This shirt, I'm going to stick in D. Not as exciting. The Condiro template, which you're going to see on a few kits of the Euros, fundamentally the pattern isn't very good to me. I don't like that design that we're seeing in a lot of kits. The colorway of this one probably saves it from being in E tier. You know, I think there is something about that design, and the rebranding crest, which we're seeing on Belgium kits for the first time, I think look quite nice. I do quite like that. So those things are just about saving the shirt from being in the E tier. But sadly, I just don't think it's an amazing look, and certainly compared to other shirts, this isn't near the top at all. So that's the Belgium away. But jumping to Croatia, this is an interesting set of kits. Croatia's home shirt was rumoured to be a lot more interesting. We were supposedly going to get, at least based on early leaks, a much more kind of glitchy, out there design. We've actually ended up with a very similar design to recent years. This is a design with really large squares, really large checks. They're not jagged at the edges like the 2018 World Cup, but they are quite similar in size, which is a bit disappointing in the sense of it's not that different. But having said that, Croatia shirts, of course, always look good. There's always something about them. And to be honest, the clean aesthetic actually looks quite good, I think, when you compare it to the away. I think as a tandem, they work really well. So this shirt here, this Croatia shirt, I'm going to stick it in B tier. I think despite not being flamboyant at all, it doesn't have a pattern which is going to blow your socks off. But actually, from the clean aesthetic point of view, it works well. And of course, Croatia shirts always have something about them. They're you know, alongside Netherlands and Sweden, teams that you want to have at major tournaments because of their shirts. So it's actually not a bad home shirt for me there in the B tier. And the away shirt is similar. I think probably the pattern isn't quite as effective as it could be, but I really like the contrast. I think it looks good. I like that they've returned to a dark base as well. I think 2018 World Cup will be remembered largely for that dark away Croatia shirt which they had. I think it very much came to be one of the defining kits of the tournament, and I like that. I like that they've kind of returned to that theme. We've often seen blue Croatia shirts in the past, so I like that we've got a darker one here again with that kind of two-tone black and grey effect. The pattern isn't amazing to me. I think it's a little bit muddied, but it's not a bad kit at all. It's probably similar to the Belgium shirt. I think it's similar in terms of nice colours. Pattern's probably not quite where I'd like it to be, but I do like the kit, and I like that lightning bolt motif, which we're seeing in Nike kits this year, and it does look good on a lot of Nike kits. Not all of them, but on some of them. A solid set of kits for Croatia. Czech Republic. Now, the home shirt here is nothing to get excited about. Very simple. Interesting use of a kind of grey colour based on the leaks that we're seeing there for the secondary colour. But there's not too much to shout about here. I think it's probably going to be in a D tier. For me, I think, you know, in terms of the Czech Republic, they've had some really good kits in the past. I used to love Czech Republic kits growing up, and the team was great, wasn't it, as well? But the kit there is a D tier kit for me. It's not one of the better kits. The away is really interesting though. I think colour-wise, we've got to start with that colour. A vibrant shade, almost like a kind of Nike Volt shade that they use on a lot of their boots and some of their kits. It kind of very much breaking the cycle of red and white kits, which a lot of teams have, and you'd expect to see a white Czech Republic kit as an away. So it's a nice change up to have this colour, even though it's a bit unusual, a bit like the Austria way, and it's not a colour combo I'd typically associate with the country. And I think really interestingly, and probably the best detail, is the pattern. There's a really nice subtle pattern, a geometric pattern, which you can't see on the thumbnail there, but it looks really good. So despite being quite unusual, I think given how the details work, I think given how the pattern looks, and given that it's quite a bold move, I think this goes straight up to B tier. I think it's not far off A tier. It's probably not the nicest colour combination compared to Austria. I think I prefer that colour combination, but it's really interesting, and I think it's really good work from Puma, and you'll see in this list really good stuff from Puma. So broadly speaking, Yeah, good year for Puma. And Czech Republic, not a bad set of kits at all. Denmark, I'll stick them in the question marks here because we just don't know what the kits look like at the moment. But we are going to get Hummel kits, and Hummel are a great manufacturer. I love Hummel shirts. I mean, I was tempted to put this at S tier just because I'm assuming it will be great. Although having said that, the Hummel kits that they've made for Denmark haven't really been well beaten. I think, certainly given that this is their home country, given the history, of course, would it be too obvious to rip off their Mexico 86 kit? Perhaps, but I'd like to see it nonetheless. I'd like to see at least a modern reinterpretation. Of course, we saw a modern version of that design with Coventry City's kits this year, so we probably won't see that again, and that'll be a bit too obvious. But anyway, I'd like to see Hummel just go for something a little bit more elaborate compared to their recent kits. So who knows what we'll get? We'll wait to see. England. Now this is a tale of two halves for me. I really like the home shirt. It's not, perhaps a surprise to a lot of people think, it's not one which has been getting a lot of praise online based on the leaks, but I like the decisions here. I like the centralized crest and the Nike swoosh. I think that's nice. We've seen that, of course, as a bit of a recurring theme on England kits, and I like that return. I think it's a good time to do it. Similarly, I think this actually looks really good with the side design, the side seams, the lightning bolt motif, as I've been referring to it as. I think that looks really good in the contrast. And, even just the colour choice of the applications, again, based on the leaks, I like that. Very simple crew neck, but to be honest, I don't like it when shirts unnecessarily put a fancy collar, so I like the simple crew neck. Honestly, yeah, it's not the most exciting shirt. It's not got a crazy pattern, and English shirts have been incredibly conservative over the years, which is a topic for another video. But yeah, when I look at this kit, I think in terms of the clean aesthetic, it's really good. I really like that. What I'm really excited to see on all the Nike shirts is their player issue shirts have this really interesting kind of fingerprint-esque construction or material detailing, which I think is a really interesting move. So from a shirt construction perspective, I think Nike are going to be really good to follow. But anyway, I think this is actually one of the better shirts of the tournament, which is perhaps a surprise. You're going to get a lot of people saying, oh, same old England, plain white shirt. Honestly, I think when you look at this collection of kits, this one actually does stand out to me as one of the better ones of the tournament. It's an A tier shirt for me, but the away, oh boy, that's an E for me. That is an E tier shirt. And, I think a lot of people are interested by this shirt. It's certainly got an interesting pattern, but I don't like the pattern. I just don't like the way it's been made. It looks quite cheap. It looks quite tacky to me. Of course, we are going off the leaks, but from what we've seen, I don't particularly like it. I don't like the cutout Nike swoosh or the style of the crest. I don't particularly like the collar. I think, there's some shirts in this collection of kits which actually look quite good in the style of the kind of almost polo shirt design. I don't like this example for England though, and I don't particularly like the colour choice either. Maybe it was a bit too obvious, a bit too on the nose, but I would have liked to have seen a lighter shade of blue, like we saw on some of the great 90s England kits. I think that would have been a slam dunk really if they'd have returned to that shade with a pattern that's a little bit nicer, perhaps a bit more geometric, or certainly a bit less tacky than I think what we're going to get on this away shirt. So there you go, England fans. A very polarising set of kits for me anyway. I'd take that home any day, and I would personally avoid the away shirt. But there we go. I mean, that's an interesting one. I'd love to hear your thoughts actually, particularly on those England kits, because I feel like that's probably a controversial opinion. I'll be interested to hear anyway. But moving on with another Nike team, Finland. I really like their home shirt. I'm going to stick it straight in A tier, and I'll tell you why. I think international shirts which make good use of a flag already have something about them. I don't often like gradients, but I think actually with this example it works really well. This is an example of a good use of a gradient, I would say, in that cross. And I really like the colour choice. It sounds a bit silly, but the colour choice of that swoosh, from what we can see on the leaks, I really like. It's this kind of gold, almost wheat kind of gold. I don't know how I'd describe it, but it looks really nice. I think it really stands out nicely against the dark navy of the cross. Yeah, great kit. I think it's a really good international kit for Finland. The away, I can sort of take or leave, but I think it does do things better than the England kit. Certainly what I really like about this is what looks like, at least based on these pictures, a continuation of the colour of the swoosh, for the swoosh of the away, and also for the buttons on the kit. Subtle colour kind of link there, but I like that. And you can see that as well in the design of the body, which looks similar to the cross, and the blue details on the sleeves. Now those blue details, I mean, they don't particularly do a lot for me, but at the same time, it's nice to see a little bit of colour there, or colour contrast to the navy. And yeah, I think in terms of the shirt, the main knock would probably be that it looks a lot like a leisure wear item. You know, it looks like the kind of polo shirt you'd get alongside a home and away kit. But actually, I think for what it's trying to do, it does quite well. It's probably, it's like a D+, C- territory. You know, when I look at these kits, I probably wouldn't take this over those two kits. So I'm going to stick it in D tier. But it's a decent D, if I can call it that. Yeah, Finland, a nice set of kits. I take theirs over England's just about. And yeah, pretty decent from Nike as a collection. Another Nike team here with France, the world champions. I'll be honest, this kit, this home kit, I was expecting a lot more. One of the most anticipated kits of Euro 2020, I think. We found out that we were going to get a design referencing their famous shirts of the 80s and 1998 with the red horizontal stripe and subsequent white stripes or hoops underneath. A lot of people got excited. A lot of people thought about and mocked up some fantastic designs. I don't think this one quite hits the mark. Funnily enough, this design reminds me a bit of their amazing Breton design with the white and black, the black hoops. Many people's favourite shirt of the 10s, certainly one of the iconic shirts of that era. They've not tried to copy that, but in terms of the several bands across there, it reminded me a little bit of that. But I just think this is an example of a shirt with a great idea, great source of inspiration that misses the mark. I don't think it's quite what it could have been. It's probably a D tier shirt for me. I think, you know, despite, you know, being a really interesting source of inspiration, it feels like they're probably just not quite done it justice. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, you could argue that, well, at least they've not just copied the 1998 shirt, for example. And of course, that was an Adidas shirt, so there's issues there, you know, with going for the same design. But I just think it needs a bit of white. It feels like there needs to be some white details. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a bit too traditionalist there, but I'll stick it in D tier. But the away, and this is probably going to shock a lot of people, S tier for me. I love this shirt. It's very simple, but the three stripes running down the side, the tricolour, the French flag, which is, funny enough, a very Adidas thing to do, is great. I really like that look. And yeah, it's not a shirt with an amazing pattern. It's not like the, you know, the Austria shirt there with the Art Deco, or the Italy shirts, which we'll get onto in a minute. But as an international shirt, I think this does everything it needs to do. I really like that deep shade of navy for the applications. And, you know, honestly, this is one of those classy, clean kits. Words which are used a lot on kits, and, you know, I'm as guilty as anyone of using that kit to describe anything that's plain to try and justify a good shirt. But I honestly think this is really good. Kind of everything that the England shirt does, but even better. And if the England shirt's an A, this has to be an S tier for me. So based on the leaks, this is going to be, for me, one of the shirts of the tournament. Bet you didn't see that coming when you saw this list. But there we go. Moving on to Germany now. Interesting set of kits here. We've seen the Adidas home kit now for a little while. I don't particularly like the design, but I must say it's grown on me since I first saw it. Before the release, I was quite skeptical. And there was something about the hand-drawn effect of the lines, which didn't really appeal to me. It felt like a lot of kits that we'd seen before in the MLS have had these kind of similar hand-drawn motifs. But having said that, when I saw it on the players and the release, as with any kit really, it did look better. It did grow on me. And you know, the flag cuffs are nice. I think Adidas certainly a focus on the cuffs as an area of the shirt to really you know, play with and use for flag detailing, and I think that's a nice motif or a nice ongoing theme. Something about this isn't just grabbing me though. I think it's probably better than these D tier shirts, so I'll stick it in C, but it's probably a C- if I'm honest. I don't think it's exciting. Whereas the away, now, call me basic, but I love blackout shirts. It's going in S tier for me. I really like the fact that they've doubled down on that. You know, they've kind of done a Dortmund, if you like. But they have kept the flag cuffs, and I like that. I like that they've kept that little detail. Everything else, pure black, or at least very, very subtle kind of two-tone there. It depends on what the actual kit looks like. But based on the leaks, they've really, really gone down the blackout route with a little bit of a flash of colour. I love it. I love that design, and hopefully we get blackout shorts and socks to complete the look. Can you imagine how good that'll look on pitch? I mean, it'll be like the Dortmund kit, of course, which sold out really quickly. This one, I think, will probably be the most popular kit of the tournament. They've had to predict the one that's going to get the most chat on social media when it kicks off next year. I think this one will probably be it. Yes, it's a bit on the nose to go for a blackout kit. It's quite obvious, but you know what? I like the look of it, and I think it will be really good on the pitch next year. Moving on to Italy now. Of course, Italy have experienced something of a renaissance, which is very appropriate because they've themed their kits on the Renaissance theme of returning to their former glories, really leaning on the youth, the young players of their team to bring them back to the glory days. And to be honest, the kits have reflected that really well. We've got wonderful patterns across the home and away, and there's the green third kit, of course, which I've not included on this list. But like these kits, wonderful designs, really intricate, kind of like fancy wallpapers, really, don't they? These patterns on the kits. The home shirt, which we're due to see very soon, is really good. It's probably not quite as nice as the away in terms of a pattern, but it's a really nice shirt. To be honest, when I actually look at this, it's easily an A tier shirt. That's how much I like it. And the away, I'll stick it in S tier. I think just as a combination of kits, you probably can't get better than Italy. Really, really nice. Even the home, I don't usually love colours on shirts, but I think that colour in the contrast of the navy looks good on the blue. And I love the away. I love the pattern on the away. If you go and check it out, it looks really good. Really good stuff from Puma. I think this is a good year for Puma. I think in terms of international kits, you could argue they are top of any brand, including Nike and Adidas. So great stuff for Italy. Great set of kits for them. Next up, we have the Netherlands, and of course any tournament is made better when the Netherlands are in town. Those orange kits are iconic and they rarely miss. Holland kits are rarely bad. They really do look the business, especially in tournaments. I just love that when you see the fans in the stands and there's that sea of orange, it always looks good. So great to see a decent set of kits, I would say, from Nike for them. We'll start with the home. Interesting pattern here. It's a geometric pattern which forms the shape of a lion. It's not like some other animal themed shirts we've seen, like the recent Napoli kits or the Tunisia third kit, which got a lot of attention, both of those from Kappa. But it's a lot better than other similar shirts. I think of the Elite Manchester City home, for example, which has a kind of cracked mosaic pattern. This is a lot nicer than that. It's a bit more refined, and I think in some ways, whilst I don't quite love the pattern as much as the Italy kits, I can see this one being a real crowd pleaser when it comes out. It's probably, to be honest, when I look at this, actually, I'm going to put it in B tier, which, despite how much I love Holland shirts, and despite the bespoke design, which I think is really interesting, it's not quite as good as these shirts for me. I think it's definitely up there. And it's a similar story with the away. I really like the detail of the thin lines here on the collar. And I think in terms of the style, being a collared shirt, this one works a lot better for me than the England or Finland ones here. A black shirt is always good. I think black shirts are always going to be high up. And given the orange detail, the bright orange detail, of course, looks great. It's close to an A tier though. It's definitely in that kind of range for me. And I do like it. I do like that combination. Really good set of kits for Holland, and I'm expecting them to be both very popular for the tournament. Poland are an interesting one. Quite plain kits, but having said that, I do like this centralized crest. I think it's really good to see that. I think given the size of it, I actually quite like that. I like how large it looks, at least based on the leaks. And it's interesting actually, isn't it, that for a lot of these kits, so take Nike's kits, they've actually mixed up placement quite a lot on the crest and the swoosh. So for example, on the England kit, they're both centralized, and this one we've got the crest in the middle and the swoosh on the left, and it's really interesting that they've mixed it up. I think that's good. I think it helps to keep a set of kits fresh. to have those different combinations. They're not all just in the standard placement, or they're not all centralized. This kit isn't going to get you out of bed in the morning. It's not certainly going to blow your socks off, but it's not a bad kit at all. When I look at it, I probably would stick it in C tier. I think it's not, it's not in this upper end of the spectrum. And in some ways, Poland are crying out for an interesting kit because they've had relatively safe kits. I didn't mind the 2018 design, but yeah, same kind of story with the away as well. And I think it's good to see a different colour, and I think that is good about the kit. And when I look at this design, I'm actually going to stick it in B tier because I prefer the overall aesthetic of the collar, and it's nice to see that contrasting white lightning bolt detail on the side. I think that looks particularly good in that colorway. So a decent set of kits. They're not again going to break any records or anything like that, but they're a decent combination. It's very typical Nike. It's quite simple, but I think as an international kits go, you could do a lot worse. I much prefer, say, this to the Condivo pattern, and we'll see that on some of the other kits. Not bad at all from Poland. Moving to Portugal, really interesting home kit. Similar kind of collar design to the Holland away or the England away, but I really like the color choice for the details. Firstly, with the cuffs, you can't see it on the thumbnail, but there's a really interesting combination of colors with a kind of orange and a green color, and I really like that. I like that colour choice. Is unusual. So whilst this isn't my favourite Portugal shirt by any means, Portugal I think have had really interesting kits over the years. I think this home shirt is actually quite decent. I'll stick it in B tier. It's close to A tier. Actually no, I'll stick it in A tier because I think when I look at this, I'll take this over the Holland shirts. I'll take it over all those shirts. So yeah, it's a nice shirt. I think really interested to see this one as a full kit as well, because I think Portugal kits always look really good. Especially when you've got kind of green shorts. I think that looks quite nice, so we'll wait to see there. Oh, but the away. Now, colour-wise, I really like that they've nodded to the 2016 win. They've got that mint colour, which is synonymous with their victory. So here we go, the reigning champions. But it doesn't match. It doesn't match that pedigree. It does not look good for me, this kit. I think when you look at the style of the design, there's something really odd about having these three sets of hoops. I don't think it works. Something about the fact it cuts off at the sleeves, I think, is a bit of a deal breaker for me. And yeah, whilst I like the audacity, the boldness to go for those colours on a kit, I don't think they've made good use of it. And to be honest, it's definitely an E tier when I look at that. It's similar to the France kit in the sense that you've got those horizontal elements, but at least the France one you could kind of get away with, I think, if you wore that one. Oh, Portugal I don't think is particularly good, but I might be pretty wrong when we see the full release of that one. To be honest though, we're going to stick Russia straight in the E tier as well. Now this one had a lot of controversy when the sleeve cuffs were deemed to look like the Serbia flag. They're going to change that for the kits next year. They're going to have, I think they're either going to flip it or certainly change the design of it. But I think this is an example of what the Condivo template doesn't do well. The pattern of this template isn't particularly nice. It feels quite boring to me. I don't like the style of it, and I think this one particularly highlights what a lot of the Condivo shirts are getting wrong, in my opinion, and that is the contrast of the sleeves to the body just looks a bit odd. If you look at the shade of red there, I don't think it matches the shade or the style of the body. I don't like the combination. Now, to be fair, some Condivo shirts look decent because of the colour choices and little details, but I don't think this is one of them. Honestly, this is really forgettable for me. Yeah, and for a home shirt as well, yeah, I don't think it's doing anything. Now, the away, however, is actually much more to my liking. I really like the way they've used the stripes here because you get the illusion of the Russian flag because you got the blue and the red stripe, horizontal stripe across. But unlike the Portugal shirt, it actually continues with the sleeves, so it looks a lot more at home. And I like that they've left that space at the top to kind of give the illusion of the Russian flag. I think it's a really nice, simple but really effective design. And it's great to see an adidas shirt that isn't just lumped into the usual template, which we're seeing a lot onto the Condivo template. So to be honest, despite what is quite a basic collar design, and it's certainly not got any kind of intricate pattern from what we can tell, it's actually an A-tier shirt for me. I think this is a really good international shirt. It's a good use of the flag. you know, a bit like the Finland shirt here. You've got two shirts which are very much a borrowing on the flag idea, but they've executed the idea well, unlike some of the other shirts. So yeah, an A-tier shirt for me. Big contrast to the home. I much prefer the away for Russia. Spain, oh dear. You know what? This is another E-tier shirt for me. I've joked about this shirt being looking like a set of paving slabs or patio tiles that just haven't been washed properly, because there is something really kind of dirty about it. It's something quite gritty, but not in a good way. And just the definition of the pattern from what I've seen doesn't look good. I don't think this is a good shirt. You'd expect a lot more from a Spain shirt. Spain have had some great kits. Maybe this is symbolic of the team not quite being what they used to be not long ago. Just not a good shirt. I don't particularly like the design. I think, you know, certainly compared to, say, the Wales shirt, which people joked about as being a bit like a Spain shirt, that would have looked a lot better with a few tweaks. And that's on the Condivo template. So yeah, I don't particularly like this. I don't think this is one of Adidas's better shirts. I don't even think it's I don't even think it's as good as kind of the Belgium away. I'd honestly take the Belgium away over the Spain home, which to me is not a good sign. Yeah, not a good shirt. And you know, look at there, you got some big teams: England, Portugal, Spain in the E tier, but I just don't think it's a good shirt. The away, I mean, oh dear, it's not much better, but it's probably a D tier. From what we can tell, it looks like it's the Condivo pattern, but that needs to be confirmed. In some ways, though, I do appreciate that it's slightly different. If you look at this compared to the Belgium shirt, obviously there's some differences in construction, which is good, but it's very safe. I don't particularly like the pattern either. Again, based on the leaks, I think this one is a D tier, so not a good set of kits. I think I'd probably go out of my way to say that Spain had the worst set of kits, I think, based on what we're seeing. I really think they're that disappointing, and that's a shame to see for such a big nation. You know, maybe if they have a really good tournament, I might warm to them, but I don't particularly like it based on what we've seen so far. However, before we get too negative, I'm going to stick Sweden straight in S tier. Now, this might be a surprise, but I love the shirt. Sweden shirts are great. Sweden, like the Netherlands, like Croatia, they always have something about them. I really like this sleeve detail. Now, this is a very simple thing. It's essentially, I mean, the design of the shirt is essentially the Condivo template, but the colour combination looks great. Really like that little stripe that goes across the cuffs. I think it looks really effective. And I think this is going to look great at the tournament. You know, it's not, as I say, an obviously great shirt. I don't think when you look at the design, and certainly compared to some of the other shirts, it's not one that's going to be a clear favourite to a lot of people. But I actually think this is a bit of a dark horse. I think Sweden are going to win a lot of people over with this shirt. And yeah, it's not the most interesting or the most intricate in terms of pattern or design, but I think it's really effective. Great colour choices, which of course Sweden are blessed with, and just really nice detail on the cuffs. I think the cuffs in themselves look really nice. And that is a feature of the best Adidas kits. When they've got the cuffs right, like this Russia shirt, like the Wales shirt, which we'll get onto in a minute, it just elevates the whole design. So great shirt for Sweden. The away is quite interesting. It's a design which we feel like we've probably seen before. I feel like Celta Vigo had a similar kit, and I remember Metalist Kharkiv, with that one, it sounds too hipster. They had a kit which had a kind of similar navy with yellow pinstripe design. You know what though, when I look at this kit, it's really nice to see that, despite seeming a little bit kind of retro, in the sense that I feel like we've seen this design a few times before. Actually, it stands out quite a lot. We don't really have any pinstripe designs, at least in this kind of classic sense. It's not quite as good as the Russia shirt for me, but it's pretty close. It's definitely a B plus kind of shirt. I think certainly Sweden, alongside Italy, you know, some of the best kits of the tournament. I think they're going to be a standout team. Yeah, really interesting choice for the away shirt. I'm not sure if we're going to see that pinch-up design on other teams. It's one that could get quite old quite fast, but for the time being, I like it. Switzerland now. Oh, well, before I go into the away, which I absolutely love, the home kit is pretty decent. I think it's not the most, the pattern itself, it feels quite unfinished. The streaks, which you can't really see on the picture here, but the streaks of colour, the sort of subliminal darker red streaks, it's almost a bit like the Germany shirt, but it feels like it's only kind of hinted at, only kind of nodded to, rather than fully realised. But it's kind of in that sort of Czech Republic territory. Of course, Puma again. where it's not got anything to latch onto. I don't think there's anything about this kit which neutrals are going to latch onto and enjoy. So for that reason, and I think given the fact that the pattern's not quite there, it's probably a D tier shirt. It's certainly not one of the worst ones in this tier. It is kind of hovering between D and C, but I'm going to stick it in D. However, the away, it's my favourite shirt of the tournament. I'm going to say that right now. It is my favourite shirt of Euro 2020 based on what we've seen. I love this design. I love the motif of the mountains, of course referencing the Alps, but they've also got 4 different colours of lines representing the 4 major language groups of Switzerland. Really nice design touch, and I really like the colour combo. You've got this sort of pinky shade, you've got a green shade in there as well. It looks really effective on the kit. I think broadly speaking, mountain type designs look really good on kits. It's one of the reasons I love Slovenia kits so much, and Werder Bremen have had some great kits with a similar motif, but I really like the Switzerland shirt. I think it's a really good use of colours. Even just the dark red on the back of the collar, I think looks really good. Just a really nice shirt. I'm going to be getting this shirt, I think, hopefully, when it drops in price. It's a great design, and yeah, it won't be everyone's favourite, but for me it is. I mean, if I could have another tier on the top, it would be there. Love the shirt, and really good stuff from Puma. I think broadly speaking, that's the last Puma shirt that I'm going to look at, and it's been a great year for Puma when you look at them, with Switzerland away there, and Italy and Austria. Kit's as good as anything else we've seen on the international scene. Turkey, it's an interesting one here because whilst the kits aren't obviously good, there's nothing amazing about them. Actually, I think it's quite an effective combination. I think the central stripe, or central hoop rather, is a really good look. I think I'm a bit of a sucker for that design style, and I think a bit like Poland, I like that they've kept the crest in the middle. Interestingly, I mean, just again, the variation. Now the swoosh here is on the top, unlike the England shirt where it's underneath the crest. So I really like that. Between the England, Turkey and Poland shirts, you've got 3 shirts there with centralised crests, and yet the swoosh is in a different place each time. To a lot of people, they won't care about that sort of thing, but to me, I look at stuff like that because it helps keep designs fresh. Even though this is a relatively plain kit with a relatively standard colourway, actually that helps keep it away from these bottom tiers. So this shirt is probably going to be, well, I'm going to stick in C tier because it's not got anything too exciting, and I'm actually going to stick the away in B tier, and I'll tell you why. It's actually quite interesting to me how the colour of that band is the same on the home and away. I'd expect this to be white as a kind of flip or reverse of the home kit, but it's interesting that they kept the red, and that kind of two-tone red I think actually works really well. It's a simple thing, and of course, again, there's no pattern or no kind of obvious detail to get excited about. But as a combination, I think Turkey have one of the better sets of kits, or at least better compared to some of the other teams. So decent from Nike and Turkey, in my opinion. Yeah, B and C tier for them. Penultimate team is Ukraine, and we don't know what their kits look like yet. They're going to be made by Joma. Ukraine kits in the past have been really interesting. They've made great use of kind of cultural patterns and motifs, so lots of potential for Joma. Certainly from a colour perspective, of course, like Sweden, there's a lot to play with the yellows and the blues. So really interested to see that. I mean, Joma, they're not one of my favourite manufacturers. I don't think they're nearly as strong as any other manufacturer on this list, but having said that, it's nice to see another smaller name in the mix. We can get overly saturated with Nike and Adidas and Puma. So actually to have Joma and Hummel, these 2 guys here with Denmark and Ukraine, that's really good. It's good to see that. It's good to break up the monopoly of these other manufacturers. So really interested to see what we get from Ukraine. And finally, we come to Wales. Thank you if you've lasted this long, by the way. This has been a long video, but I hope you've enjoyed it. But we'll come to Wales. Great set of kits for Wales. I really like this home shirt. It's been out for a while. I'm going to stick it in A tier straight away because I really like those cuffs. Some people have said it looks a bit like a captain's armband, which I kind of agree with, but I like the style. I think certainly in a similar way to the Sweden kit. I think if you just take that section of the shirt, if you look at the cuffs in isolation, I think it looks really effective. I like the use of yellow as a secondary detail for the 3 stripes. Like we said before, some people said it looks like a Spain shirt, but I like it. I think certainly good Wales kits of the past have used yellow to good effect. I've got a rebranded crest as well, which I quite like. So yeah, really decent kit for Wales. And the away is an interesting one because the pattern, from what we can tell, looks like the Condivo pattern, which is a big no-no. But unlike the Belgian kit or the Russia kit, actually I think this one does a lot of things better. And I'm going to stick it. I'll stick it in C. It seems to fit nicely there, doesn't it? It's close to B though. I think from the leaks we've seen, there looks to be a green secondary colour, which is really interesting. The yellow and green combo. First I thought it was black, but the green is really nice. It's a very simple detail, but I like that colour combo. And just as a colour combo with the home, the red and the yellow, I think it's a nice combination. It's really nice that it's not just a white kit like we saw from the most recent Wales away kit. And of course, for a lot of these kits, a lot of the teams that play in red seem to have white away kits. So it's nice that Wales have bucked that trend. You know what? I'm sticking it in B. I think actually when I look at that, despite the pattern, it's surprising actually that I've stuck it that high to me. But yeah, I really like that colour combination. I think it's a really good one. Wales have got a great set of kits this year. So there we go. That is all the Euro 2020 kits. What do you think? I'd love to know your opinion. What have I ranked too highly? You know, what am I kind of gushing over, which I really shouldn't be? And equally, what am I missing? What are those shirts in D or E tier which you think deserve to be in S or A? I'd love to know. And I'd love to know what you think of this format. What do you think of this style? I'm very open to doing this in future. As I said before, thank you if you've lasted this long. It's been a bit of a marathon, but I really enjoyed it. So I hope you've enjoyed this look too. Get excited for next year. We've got a little while to wait, but it is going to be worth it. I think broadly speaking, this is a good tournament for shirts. So lots to look forward to. I'm certainly going to be trying to buy at least a few of these kits up here. And thank you once again to my sponsors, to Kit and Bone and to Mystery Football Jerseys. Check them out at the links below. And if you like this video, please like and share it with your friends and subscribe to keep up to date with more episodes as they drop. But for now, I've been Phil and this is Phil's Corner. I'll see you very soon.